Hi, my name's Kate James. I'm a cataloger and a former member of the RDA Steering Committee. This video in the RDA Concepts series is about the entity agent. It's one of the 13 entities used in RDA. Here's the drop-down list of them. Here's agent, so I'll click on the page for agent. Now let me take a moment to remind you that you probably are familiar with the term agent because it was in original RDA. In original RDA, it was defined as a person, family, or corporate body. The difference between how it was used in original RDA and how it's used in new RDA is that in original RDA, it was not formally defined as an entity, meaning we had attributes for the specific types person, family, corporate body. Like we had name of person, name of corporate body, and name of family, but we didn't have the attribute name of agent to describe an entity called agent. So we couldn't really do it in original RDA. But in new RDA, we have agent and we have all kinds of elements, both attribute elements and relationship elements, to describe an agent if we choose to. So here's the definition, which I assure you is very similar to original RDA, although it might look a bit different. It says that an agent includes a collective agent and a person. So a collective agent is either a corporate body or a family. So we're saying the same thing. Let me just go to the collective agent page and show you here. Again, it's a corporate body or a family. And I'll go back to the agent page to keep looking at that definition. An agent is an entity who is capable of deliberate actions, and this is true for all of those more narrow types or subtypes. So it's true for a person, family, corporate body, and also collective agent. This is important in helping us to understand the relationship between agent and its subtypes and other entities in RDA like work. Only an agent can create a work. It might be true that we don't know who that agent was, whether it was a person or a group of people that would be acting as a collective agent, but we know that at some point it was an agent that created a work. A work can't create another work, an item can't create a work, so this gives us an idea of the kind of relationships that agents will have to other RDA entities like work and item. And as you can see, an agent is an entity supertype, which means that it's a broad category of entity and it has more specific types, like, as I said, collective agent and person. So it's accurate to say that a person is an agent, a collective agent is an agent, and then by extension, a corporate body is an agent, and a family is an agent. So this definition of being capable of deliberate actions applies to all of those specific types of entities. It's also important to appreciate this hierarchy of entities when we are looking for elements to describe entities, because as you can see down here, we've got a lot of elements to describe an agent, and then these same elements are also for the subtypes like person. Let me show you an element now. Oops, excuse me. Related time span of agent is what I'm looking for. So this is a time span associated with an agent. Scroll down here, we've got these more narrow elements like agent, period of activity of agent. So that's a kind of time span. So it's a period of activity, a time span in which an agent is active in its field of endeavor. And then we also have these more narrow elements for those entity subtypes like collective agent, related time span of collective agent, and person, related time span of person. I'll take a look at this one. So as you can see, same type of thing. It's a time span that is associated with a person. Because of this hierarchy, anything that I record here for related time span of person, I could also record for related time span of agent because a person is an agent. And then if I want to go down here and see these more narrow elements, now I'm getting into types of time span that are only applicable to person. So person, date of birth, person, date of death. There's no corporate body, date of birth, or corporate body, date of death. But because, again, of the hierarchy, anything that I recorded for person, date of death could also be recorded for agent, related time span of agent. So understanding how this hierarchy works is going to help you to find the appropriate elements to describe the agent entity or one of its subtypes. You might be wondering why you would want to describe an entity as an agent instead of being as specific as possible by using person, family, or corporate body. There's a couple of reasons for this. One of these is that it depends on the needs of your library. For some libraries, it might be fine to use the broader level entity agent. Other libraries might decide it's better for their library users if they describe as specifically as possible using person, family, or corporate body. A second reason is if you can't tell whether an entity is a person, family, or corporate body. Normally we can, but imagine that you run across an entity with a name like Pink Floyd. In the case of Pink Floyd, this is a very famous rock band, so we know it's a corporate body. We've got all kinds of information that tells us it's a corporate body. But imagine for a moment that you had never heard of Pink Floyd before, and you come across this name and there's no other information available. Pink Floyd really doesn't sound like a corporate body or a family, and not necessarily like a person either. So instead of trying to guess what kind of specific entity Pink Floyd is, you could just say, I'm going to describe Pink Floyd as an agent because that would be accurate and I don't have to worry about it any further. And it's better to do that than it is to guess and then find out you've guessed incorrectly later on. So if you were to say, I'm going to guess that Pink Floyd is a person, and you describe it as such, then later on you find it's a corporate body, well, now you've got to clean up a bit of a mess you've made with the data, whereas if you had just described Pink Floyd as an agent, it would be fine. Finally, a reason to use the higher level entity agent could be a mapping of data. So if you have some legacy data that's not RDA and you want to convert it to RDA, it might not be possible to do it at that granular level using the entity subtypes and their elements, but you might be able to do it at a higher level, meaning you could map to agent but not necessarily to family, corporate body, person. And then likewise, if you wanted to take your RDA data and map it to something that wasn't RDA, it might be easier to do it at a higher level like agent than in the more specific level like person. So that's all I have to say at this time about the agent entity and its subtypes. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.